It's time for the Albertville Aggie Coach Bert Browne Show. Every Tuesday night at 6, you can tune in to Power 107.5 with Aggie announcers Barry Galloway, John Gladden, and Keith Ball, live at Local Joes in Albertville. For the next hour, Aggie head coach Bert Browne will be joined by Aggie coaches and Albertville players, and we'll talk Aggie football. Now let's go live to Local Joes in Albertville here on Power 107.5.
And nicely done, and welcome to Local Joes in downtown Albertville. And we got a great crowd here. Barry Galloway, Keith Ball, John Gladden, Coach Bert Browne with us here. And we got a full house tonight. So let's talk about what's going on here, John.
Looks like that one of our clubs in school, the FBLA, I believe, the Future Business Leaders of America, looks like they're having their own, what do you call it, where you come and fundraiser kind of a deal. Fundraiser thing here tonight. And just so happens they planned it on the Tuesday night of the Bert Browne Show. So a really good crowd tonight. I mean, really good crowd.
Well, I think Coach pushed for the team to come out and parents to come out tonight. And that'll be a tremendous help to FBLA. And Barry, it's a huge crowd. Everything's packed out. It looks great tonight.
Coach Brown's you've already finished your ribs, Coach?
Not yet.
He's working on the ribs.
Working on those.
Yeah, but one thing, Local Joes for going above and beyond this year, for making us feel at home and taking care of us every week. Coach, it's hard to believe here we are, 3 games left in the season.
Yeah, we got 3 left, and we got a pretty tough football team coming in here, and Bob Jones, and I was talking to Coach Perkins at Austin today, and I think they're undefeated, and they played Bob Jones. He said it's the most athletic team they played, so we got a big task coming in here on Friday.
Let's go back to last Friday at Huntsville. I tell you, the game started great early on. You had a 19 play drive, John.
Right.
In my book, that may be the longest drive you had this year. Couldn't quite finish it off, but the game started great in the first quarter.
Yeah, our defense played real well, and we drove the football and just didn't. That's kind of the story of our season. We just can't finish some stuff, and for us, we're so dang young that it's hard to put those long drives together and not make mistakes throughout it. And we can't run the football. We got Jakari's ACL, and Rich wasn't able to play, and with the high ankle sprain, and offensive line wise, we're just up against it as far as the size and our youth. So we've got to be able to spread people out and get the ball out of our hands quick.
It is a young team, but looking at the sidelines, John, before the game, how many were not dressed out, injured, that you were missing? So missing those starters with a young team, that's tough.
Well, we've got several out right now, and I mean, I think we probably have 10 kids out right now. And when you have 8 seniors in 7A football, and you got 10 guys out that aren't playing, I was very happy this year. We got to we played a full freshman schedule and a full JV schedule. Our JV season ended last night at Huntsville. I think they dressed about 60 JV guys.
Wow.
We had about 23 or 4, I guess. And but that, like I told our kids, I said, I know that some people, it's one of those deals for me. With what we're going through right now, it's not as important to win a freshman and sophomore or JV game as it is to get people playing and get people experience. And so, we've got some kids that don't play on Friday night that deserve to play. So it was very important for me to have a full freshman schedule, which we're going to have next year, and a full JV schedule, which we're going to have next year that we had this year. and we finished winning 2 of the last 3. Actually tied a ball game 4 weeks ago for JV. So we had a good JV season and had a good freshman season, and but we've got some freshmen that are our starting left tackle right now is a freshman. Our starting quarterback, CJ, who's been out with a concussion, is a freshman, and then our freshman running back who started some for us is not playing on the freshman team. So for us, that's one of the things I talk to the kids about. I mean, if we had everybody on each team that needs to be, we'd be pretty good freshmen. We'd have a pretty dang good JV team. But right now we're playing JV football on Friday night. We're playing a bunch of guys that really shouldn't have to be on the field right now on Friday nights against some dudes.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit deeper, guys, if you don't mind. That is in years past where, we've had ninth graders that only get to play like maybe 3 games in a season. JV plays 3 or 4. And then those guys they're not getting the quality reps they need. Right. They're not having a whole lot of fun. And so that's huge, getting to play those full schedules with those younger guys, Coach.
Yeah, and that's what I told them this morning. We lifted this morning, and before we lifted, I had a team meeting, and I told them, because we played last night, and I said, guys, great, we had a great JV season, and I said, and if you look around, I said, it's really unfair to some of you guys that you have to play on Friday night. Right. Because it should be a year where some of you are getting that JV experience and you're going up against guys more your size and stuff. But I was extremely proud of them. That's what I told them. I said, I want to win a JV and freshman game, but if we don't, it's not the worst thing in the world. The most important thing to me is guys getting playing time and getting to see game speed stuff and getting some game experience. And so I told the coaches going into the season, I want people to play. I want everybody to be able to play, get them out there. And if we lose because we're playing a bunch of kids and they're having fun, so be it.
Well, I got to, it was really cool Saturday, Coach. I got to go over my nephew. A little shout out to Judd Ball. He plays on one of the A-team Pee Wee teams, and they didn't get the win, but guys played hard, and he actually got a touchdown. Then got kicked the extra point. After that, so he's a little athlete, but really cool, Coach. Go over to ARAB. And it's a Pee Wee game, and they've got a big tournament going on. Look out on the field when it's our guys' turn to play, and you've got 4 or 5 of our varsity guys out there, and that's so cool. Those guys could be anywhere else, doing anything else, and doing,
whatever.
When I was in high school, I probably wasn't a good a guy as what they were. I was out getting in trouble, but I did want to give those guys a shout out. Hunter Smith, Bryson Parker, Elijah Laura Saint, and Cooper McClendon. They're over there hanging out with a bunch of 10, 12-year-olds, and those kids looking up to them like they're gods, and that's really cool. Really appreciate those guys going there and being a part of that program. I think Hunter and maybe Bryson, he was talking about, have really invested a lot of time on Saturdays with those young guys. But talk about the importance of those Pee Wee teams coming up, and then your junior high program. I understand they're over in Madison tonight. Talk about.
They're in Madison Thursday night.
You're right. You're right. Talk about the younger guys we got coming up. I know we got some athletes coming up.
Well, I was over at the junior high practice a little while ago, and we got a very good a bunch of 7th and 8th graders, and I know sometimes the wins don't kind of equate, but that's something I told Chase Barnard, our head junior high coach. I said, I don't want to play a bunch of guys. I want it to be a good experience at that age, so that they come to the high school and they want to play football. That's very important, because I remember when I was in junior high many years ago that, you see you're not getting to play. I didn't get to play much, and then I hit puberty. And then I became a quarterback, and and the guys that played that had already hit puberty didn't play so much in high school, So I told him, I said, let's play a lot of guys, and we want to win. That's important. But we also want to get people in games and get them loving the game. And that's the same way Pee Wee. I told the Pee Wee coaches, we had a clinic, and I was talking to them about that, and I said, you guys have to remember, they have to have a good experience at this, because so many times at other places that I've been, I recruit the hallways constantly in the cafeteria. And, the things that I've said is, hey, you need to play football. And I can't tell you how many kids, I don't like it. Why not? Well, I had a bad experience in Pee Wee.
Yeah.
So, I was telling those Pee Wee coaches, it's very important that these guys at this age have a good experience, have fun. I remember when I was at Madison Central where I played, and I was a head coach there in Kentucky, I had 3 feeders, a big high school, 3 junior highs, and one of my junior high coaches is running these guys to death in the summer. And, they're running, and in July they're out there running 1000s, and I'm like, no. They're in the 8th grade, they can run for days. You don't need to get them out here because the big boys are like, man, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
And so I put a cease and desist on that. I cease and desist that.
Yeah.
You don't need to run junior high guys to death. When I was in junior high, I could have played all day on Saturday, and we all know that when you're a kid, you can run for days.
Yeah.
You don't need to get them out there and condition them to death to where they hate that sport.
Well, in talking about, and I'll hush, guys. I know I'm taking all the airtime right now. Going back to these guys having a good experience and not knowing what they're going to be when they get into high school, and wanting everybody to have a good time and play. I always go back to Colin Wells, and I don't know if you remember Colin played running back for us. And was a really good running back, had some knee issues. But when he was in junior high, he was like the second string guard. Mm-hmm. And we were like, well, what we're going to do with this guy. But we tried to get him out there, and he ended up loving it. And then it's about 9th grade, and you're talking about somebody changing, guys.
Yeah.
He went from little butterball, and he really got put on some good weight. And he turned out to be our varsity running back and was really, really good.
Yeah.
So you never know. And I'm glad to hear that Coach Barnard has given these guys a good experience in the junior high level.
Yeah, and the 7th grade haven't had a real good year, but we've got a lot of players in there, and several of them have never played, and they're playing against people that have played for a few years, and that's one of the things I understand because I know football. What they're doing right now is getting a love for the game, working on stuff, and I'm not worried about those guys going 10-0. I want those guys to want to play the game. I want to have 50 8th graders next year and 50 freshmen next year. That's what we need to have. So, it's important to me that we get that, and that's how you build a program. You get the young kids interested. My wife said at the 5th and 6th grade, there's a lot of real good athletes down there. Me and her went to the Pee Wee game a couple weeks ago, and of course, the kids didn't want to talk to me. They want to talk to her, Miss Brown, And a funny story. We went in the homecoming parade. I was driving our Aggie wagon that's about to fall apart, and my wife was sitting beside me, and Clay Mitchell and I think Jim Nelson were sitting back there. And we drove that parade route, and I can't tell you how many times, Coach Mitchell. Yeah. He's a hero. All them kids, they love Coach Mitchell.
Yeah.
They got him in PE. So, that's the good thing about when you're a PE guy, everybody loves you because you're not making them do math and English and history. They get to play. So
that's right.
Well, Coach, we'll take a quick time out, let you finish your ribs, and come back with more. Come out and join us. We're at Local Joe's in downtown Albertville every Tuesday from 6 to 7 for the Coach Bert Browne Show here on Power 107.5.
Attention football fans, this season don't let slow internet make you miss a single touchdown, tackle, or triumph. With our gigabit fiber internet, you get blazing fast speeds that keep you in the game. Stream every play in crystal clear HD. Blitz through online stats and video chat with fellow fans, all with zero lag. Don't fumble your connection. Score big with our unbeatable fiber service. Call FTC and get your gigabit fiber internet just in time for the big game. Stay connected, stay ahead, stay unstoppable. Visit farmerstel.com or call us at 866-638-2144. FTC, we keep you connected.
Attention North Alabama, Drew Epperson here with Sand Mountain Toyota. Are you in the market for a new ride? Look no further than Sand Mountain Toyota, where excellence meets affordability. From sleek sedans to powerful trucks and SUVs, each Toyota is a 5-star favorite, and even our pre-owned inventory is guaranteed to exceed your expectations. Come see me or give me a call at 256-878-0789 and say you want to drive with Drew, where customer satisfaction drives me.
Albertville Discount Pharmacy has been providing prescription and healthcare needs to the Sand Mountain area for over 30 years. With 3 pharmacists, Amy Honey, Brett Hogan, and Eddie Campbell, you will feel the confidence their staff provides. They want to be your pharmacy. Phone 256-878-1515 or come by Albertville Discount Pharmacy, your hometown pharmacy at 422 North Broad Street in Albertville.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones, your hometown trusted choice insurance agency. Randy Jones and Associates knows the playing field, and we have been proudly serving communities across North Alabama for 46 years. Having the right protection on the field is important. The RJA team of experienced agents will help you find affordable, customized insurance coverage for your family, business, and future. Stop by a local Randy Jones Associates office for a free, no-obligation quote or complimentary policy review.
And welcome back to the Coach Bert Browne Show. Local Joes downtown Albertville. The Smokehouse is rocking here tonight. We've got a packed house. The Aggie players are here tonight enjoying a good meal. What Booster Club, John, is treating the Aggie players today?
Yeah, I think so. You're
that
right, Coach? I think the Booster Club's taking care of the coaches and the players, but all the other proceeds and tips and all of that stuff's going to the FBLA. Yeah, the Future Business Leaders of America. I think they've got, don't quote me on this, I think they got a conference or a convention or something that they've got to go to later. Kind of like what you see with FCCLA, and I was an FFA guy, so we would do stuff like this. So just getting a little bit of money to help them with their expenses.
Yeah. Coach, back to the Huntsville game. First quarter, dead even. Second quarter, did they begin wearing your defense down, or what seemed to change?
I mean, offensively, the front, their front just gave us fits. They had that kid has several FBS offers, and they just owned us up front, really. I mean, and when you can't run the ball, you got to be able to throw it. And our defense, but now we played pretty dang good defense. They just hit some big plays on us and stuff like that. And that's what I told the kids at halftime. I said, they big played us. We throw a pick six. So, but we desperately need good things to happen to us early, and then we got to capitalize on that stuff.
Yeah, Coach, actually, 2 questions come to mind when you were chit-chatting about your team just now. And I'm going to go with the first side. I want to go on the offensive side of the ball, right? So there's one punt early in the game, lands at about the 16, and then we never get a roll that goes our way. It always rolls back to midfield. The other team's always, it seems, gets a roll that goes back to ours, and it literally rolls to the 1 yard line. And Barry and I, we're all sitting there in Jink, and we're like, we went to a commercial break, and we're all looking at one another like, oh, man, we got to come out from our own 1 yard line, right? But the funny thing is you put a 19-play drive together. And that was coming out now aided by a 15-yard roughing the punter. Thank you very much. We'll take that one.
Yeah.
But you didn't score. But what I saw was, even with that penalty, take that penalty out of it, I mean, you still had 18 plays, right? I mean, you were able to put a drive together, and that drive flipped field position.
Yeah.
And then you're able to punt them, and then they get a couple of penalties, and you got them backed up inside their own 5 yard line.
Yeah.
But what I love and what I wanted you to talk about a little bit was just that momentum that your offense was able to get after even though you didn't score, a 19-play drive out of your own 1 yard line.
Well, and that's the thing about the future of our program. We got so many young kids playing, and you see stuff like that happen, and you think, okay, we got a chance. If it's not rocket science. We need size, all right, and we got some young size coming. And, because you need some big kids to move some bodies around. And but we got a bunch of scrappers. And, and I tell them all the time how proud I am of them. I mean, we're outmanned. I mean, I think everybody knows that. If you standing down there with me on the sideline and looking at what they have and looking at what we got, it's totally it's kind of like, we're playing in the Southeastern Conference and we're sometimes Faulkner. I mean, we just don't look the same. I mean, we don't. And but our kids are competing. They're getting after it. And that's one thing, and I know Coach Alford's going to talk about the weight room here tonight. He's doing a great job in there. We're building strength. Our young guys are strong. So to me, next year, I think we can have a good year. I mean, when I say good year, I'm not talking about 8 wins or anything, realistically, but you never know. I mean, if you win 3, you win the first couple, you win a game here, game there, and then all of a sudden you get some breaks. But I think in a couple of years, when we got our guys are older that have been playing as freshmen and sophomores, and so stuff like that really looks good. It makes you feel like, okay, and it makes those guys feel like, hey, we can do this, but as we know, in football, it's a physical game, and usually physicality takes over, and the biggest physical team usually can pull it out.
Well, and Coach, when you now going to the opposite side of the ball, kind of leading into that, right? Obviously, you said it. I mean, at certain points in the game, we realize that we're outmanned and outgunned, and as the game kind of matriculates on there, and you end up getting on down toward the third and fourth quarter, they got, like, when their ones are in there and then their twos come in, some of those twos are just as good as their ones, right? So I say all that to say this. One thing that I've noticed is specifically over the last 2 games is that our defense has done very well in the first half. Yeah. Right? And then once again, when you get to the second half, I mean, they can continue. So the analogy I used the other day with an individual was, you remember in the old war days when Britain would line up and have 4 or 5 deep, you knock someone down, they just keep coming. Well, that's kind of the way some of the teams that we're playing are, is next man up, right? But I wanted you to speak specifically, where you're seeing at practice that's kind of translating itself into Friday night, where you're seeing those improvements on the defense, and that we are getting better, because I have seen it over the last 2 weeks.
Well, I think our front's getting better. We got some size. Kevin Bravo's a kid that was in the band last year as a freshman, 285-pound freshman that I talked into playing football. Thank God I did, because he's an anchor. Yeah. 285 pounds, guys, is hard to move. Yeah. And he's about 5'10", 5'11", and good player, and going to be a real good player when he figures out the game. Kevin, I tell him all the time, when he learns to play with his hands, he's going to be a load. He's going to be like a Christian, but he's bigger than Christian. Yeah. And so, it's just with our youth and getting stronger in the weight room, and I know Coach Alford's going to speak to this, is our off-season program is they're going to have to bear down now. Yeah. We're going to get after it in this off-season, because we're going to have 25 or 26 seniors. And I had a meeting with the juniors Sunday and just said, hey, this is, you guys are not only playing for this year, you're playing for your senior year. And you guys, when this is over, we're going to hit that weight room and the off-season stuff wide open. And I expect you guys, if you want to have a good senior year, you got to bring these young guys on. You got to pull them with you and say, hey, buddy, you're going to work hard.
Huntsville game, couple of players, Peyton Jones, Jacob Laughlin. I thought they had a good game. And you mentioned Christian. Yeah. I thought those 3 had a good game.
They did. And Hunter had a good game, and Dez had a good game at receiving. And, we do have some bright spots. And that's the thing about football. You got so many moving parts. In basketball, you got 2 guys, and one gets 35 one night, you can win. Baseball, you got a guy that throws a one-hitter, and you win 1-0. Football, it's a different deal. The big physicalness of teams usually win out.
Coach, talking about the bright spots, one of those things in depends on how you look at it, but all of a sudden you've got Parker Gibson. That, congratulations, you're fixing to be the starting quarterback against Huntsville, right? Yeah. Because CJ has gone down with an injury right now. Looks like we may have an opportunity to get him back before the end of the season. But in watching Parker Gibson, I mean, for the season, he's 21 of 66, 255 yards, not bad in the role that you have him in. And then last week, he was 11 of 36, not great, but not horrible either, 95 yards. couple of miscues from him as a quarterback. But I just wanted you to speak to me, I'm thinking getting thrust in that position, not bad performance from the young man saying, I got a week to get ready. And once again, I guess what I'm going to ask is what you thought about the performance and then the coaching that you've been able to coach him this week based off of what you saw last week.
Well, Parker's gotten better and better. Like last year, but he's grown 5 inches.
Yeah, he has.
And he's coming into his own, and he's getting some size, but he's improved every week. He was our JV quarterback, and he was lighting it up, and we were winning games. And then, now he's the starting varsity. So Zach Jenkins is taking over as our JV quarterback, who this is his first year. And I told him, you need to play quarterback, and he's going to get better. So. It's kind of one of those deals where, Parker is learning, and I can't imagine. My first start was the third game of my sophomore year. I beat a senior out in high school, and I was nervous now, and I was 6'1" skinny sophomore, but. He's doing better, and as he settles in, I asked him who Wally Pipp was. Wasn't Wally? I said, you know who Wally Pipp was? And if I'm not mistaken, he was the first baseman for the Yankees. Am I right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
And I said, you know who Wally Pipp was? Of course, he didn't know.
All right.
And I said, you know who Lou Gehrig was? No. And I said, well, Wally Pipp got hurt, and Lou Gehrig moved in at the first base position for the New York Yankees, and Wally Pipp was never heard of again in pinstripes. And Lou Gehrig set the Major League Baseball starting consecutive starts record before, of course, he got sick, and so anyway, I said, you can be Lou Gehrig,
Yeah.
And so he's gotten better, and I know CJ's going to get cleared on Thursday, and he should have already been cleared, but his mother's had the Dickens trying to get him in a doctor to see him, which I feel for her because I think it was ridiculous that the doctors didn't get him in before that. It's been over 2 weeks, and so he'll be cleared this Thursday. He won't be able to play Friday. So anyway, we're getting better, and those kids are getting better, but we're playing. They're getting to play against some tough competition for sure.
We'll take another timeout. I think a special guest, strength and conditioning coach, will be joining us.
Yep.
Be coming up next. We'll take a timeout. We're here live at Local Joe's, downtown Albertville, with Coach Bert Browne here on Power 107.5.
This week, Foodland Plus in Albertville has 80% lean, fresh ground chuck. Family pack, $3.99 a pound. Preferred Angus beef T-bone steak. Family pack, $8.99 a pound. Prairie Fresh whole boneless pork loin, $2.19 a pound. Western grown fresh cantaloupes, $2.99 each. General Mills large size cereal selected varieties, 2 for $7. Food Club cheese, 608 ounce. Shredded cubes or chunk, 5 for $10. Bush's Best chili beans, 15 to 16 ounce selected varieties, 2 for $3. At Foodland Plus in Albertville.
It's football time in Alabama. The players are hitting the field, the cheerleaders are firing up the crowd, the drum majors striking up the band, and we all stand for the national anthem. This is Congressman Robert Adderholt. While you cheer your favorite team this season, I'll be on President Trump's team shaking things up in Washington. When we stand on conservative principles, it's a win for everyone. I'm Robert Adderholt, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Adderholt for Congress.
Albertville Discount Pharmacy has been providing prescription and healthcare needs to the Sand Mountain area for over 30 years. With 3 pharmacists, Amy Honey, Brett Hogan, and Eddie Campbell, you will feel the confidence their staff provides. They want to be your pharmacy. Phone 256-878-1515 or come by Albertville Discount Pharmacy, your hometown pharmacy at 422 North Broad Street in Albertville.
Attention North Alabama, Drew Epperson here with Sand Mountain Toyota. Are you in the market for a new ride? Look no further than Sand Mountain Toyota, where excellence meets affordability. From sleek sedans to powerful trucks and SUVs, each Toyota is a 5-star favorite, and even our pre-owned inventory is guaranteed to exceed your expectations. Come see me or give me a call at 256-878-0789 and say you want to drive with Drew, where customer satisfaction drives me.
Joe's downtown Albertville with Coach Bert Browne Show. The Aggie players and coaches joining us here tonight. Thank you to the Aggie Booster Club for taking care of the players tonight. Appreciate that. And only 3 more games to go. Then I guess the Aggie players get back in the weight room, John.
Time to get back in the weight room.
Yeah.
I never had to worry about going to basketball season, that's for sure.
No, that wasn't a threat.
Nope.
So
if I was going to basketball season, it's because I was buying a ticket.
There you go.
Coach Brown's finishing off his ribs, so we got a special guest joining us.
Yeah, I got Coach Alford, strength and conditioning coach, coordinator over at Albertville High School, and I think you actually go down into middle school. So basically all of our sports kind of filter into the new indoor facility. That's the first thing I want to talk to you about, the facilities that you get an opportunity to work in every single day.
Man, we're truly blessed to have that. That's an incredible facility, one of the best in the state. I mean, even top to bottom, the size, the equipment we have, the capabilities we have are unprecedented. And getting to come in there every day and work with football, basketball, baseball, volleyball. I get all the athletes through there throughout the day, and then, like you said, we bring in middle school kids, and it develops some culture, it develops some continuity, it develops kids seeing their older counterparts working out, and it kind of motivates them that, hey, I'm going to get to be here for, maybe 6 years, and it's a great facility, and it makes our workouts a lot more functional.
Yeah, and I think you can speak intelligently on what you see in that facility because you've come from the collegiate ranks. Would you say that it rates up there with some of the collegiate weight rooms in the world?
No doubt, man. I spent 12 years in college, and to this day, there's college teams, even at the FCS level, that would love to have the facility. At Jacksonville State, when I was there, we had something very similar as I was leaving, and I know teams in our conference would love to have the size and the capabilities, and there's colleges all over this country that would love that weight room.
Coach, talk a little bit about some of the younger guys we've got coming up and the guys that you're seeing in the weight room, some of these maybe sophomores, juniors, and how much they have gained in size and strength just over this last year.
Man, they came in here. We got a lot of buy-in out of them, and it helped with that facility. This is right at 1 year of being in there. So during the off season, we got to use it to our full advantage. And these young guys got to really, step into a facility that was conducive to them getting better. They saw some of our older guys and the progress they had made, and it just motivated them to come through the doors and use every inch of that place. And I tell them all the time that not everybody can do it the way we can do it. Now, they're doing the same things, yes, but we're pushing sleds, we're flipping tires, and we're doing all that within our own weight room and in the facility.
Talk a little bit about the importance of that strength program, because I know when we were coming up, John, you're a little older than I am, but back in the day, man, we didn't have that kind of equipment. You're running bleachers, you're bear crawling, you're running up hills, you're doing push-ups and sit-ups because we just didn't have that kind of equipment. Talk about how much strength that these kids are kind of expected, how strong they're expected to be in today's game, and how important that is too, just on the football side.
Oh, it's definitely a game changer, and these guys that have been there for the actually before the facility and saw kind of how limited we were. Yeah. We had racks, plates, and benches, and some med balls, and it was a very small area. And we used every square inch of that place. And then when we got into this new facility, we were actually converting, and we were, correlating what we did in the racks to a patch of turf. And so when we do maybe, for instance, a deadlift, we'll go straight from a deadlift to the turf and do broad jumps. And they see kind of that weighted resistance lift as well as the unresisted and kind of the contrast between heavy lifting to light jumping. And they see results immediately. And it helped me get buy-in from the guys. When they see those improvements, you can't keep them out of there.
Yeah, man. So when I taught here for 10 years at Albertville, and I was the head coach of the junior high football program. And then for 4 years, I did the 8th grade conditioning class at the end of the day. And you talking about, I can speak to not having a ton of room in that old facility, right. And you had 5 dudes in a rack, 6 dudes in a rack, and I had like 50 minutes with them, and you're trying to get everybody to get a lift in and to do different things, and then you're trying to get out of the rack with the guys rotating in and maybe doing some things in the floor, working core, doing some stuff like that, there was no room in that old facility.
Right.
So I can just imagine what being able to run a class inside the new one. It's awesome.
It's incredible, and I kind of pinch myself. And the kids love it because it's something new every day. We'll like I said, they'll do a heavy lift, and they know the rotation. They jog over to the turf, and it's a 10-yard sprint or a hang clean and a box jump or something along those lines. And it's a nonstop lift. They got more room than they know what to do with, and they take it to their full advantage.
Coach, when you talk about, obviously, I played on the offensive and defensive fronts, right? Defense, high school, offense when I got to college, and then you had different people. Talk about you as the strength and conditioning coordinator, and you're having to put all of these plans together. Because wide receivers lift a little bit different than running backs different than tight ends and offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Just talk about the work that it goes in. And what you're seeing improvement-wise in each one of those skilled positions now, or each one of those different position groups. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. The biggest thing was a benefit to us was when we got more coaches that had first period football period. I was able to have all the staff in there, and I could kind of delegate jobs. Hey, these guys are doing this lift. These guys are doing this lift. And kind of using the knowledge of what these positions do. Like, for instance, there are times where we're doing O-line, D-line specific lifts. They're all together on one side of the weight room. And then we're doing skill position lifts. We're single leg and speed oriented, you would say. And so I'm able to divide that team up. I'm kind of overseeing both groups. And then we can put some of these assistant coaches in there. And they're essentially coaching their position. You got O-line coach coaching, pass sets. And the wide receivers coach are working sprint work. And it kind of correlates to what they coach on the field. It gives me another set of eyes, another set of hands, and each position group and each different group, we even had three groups going on at one time. O-line, D-line, skill guys, and then the middle ground guys. They got to be fast and strong. They're not a skill position. Those I call them mid-skill guys, linebackers, tight ends, running backs. They have to be the best of both worlds, So we were able to have three different lifts going on at one time with the help of the coaches and, make it very much position specific.
Coach, I'm learning here. Football, of course. What about other sports? You work with the other athletes here in Albertville?
I do. I start my day with football. My next group is wrestling and track and swimming. And then I have girls soccer, cheerleading, and flag football. And then boys soccer. And then 7th and 8th period is either boys and girls basketball, baseball, softball. And then I get to see the Gladden boy in there playing golf. So, I get to see it all. And that's really what I love about my job is I love football. And that's what I did a lot of in college. But it's also fun to watch those volleyball girls, work hard and then watch them play well on the court. So all my years in college, I did every sport. Coming up through the ranks, I was the guy. I think I trained the rifle team one year.
Wow.
And so I get the kind of broad knowledge of what you need to do to be more explosive, what you need to do to be more laterally explosive. So I kind of take that knowledge and put it towards the sports that they're playing and then, get to train them differently. Different teams require different things and even different mentalities. Those girls soccer players, they work hard as the guys. You know?
And I just wanted you to know I'm a little mad at you because Hudson beat me for the first time the other day playing golf. So I think that strength and conditioning is working out a little bit more.
Well, swing by there. I'll give you their workout, and I'll get you back on top.
I don't know about that. John's got one of them bionic knees. I don't know if we need to do all that.
We charge that thing up. We'll get
him charged up. Now, when you dig into that, when you're digging into how far you can take girls volleyball versus golf, and just I got just a taste of that world when I was doing that conditioning class. Now mine was all boys, and it was football, baseball, basketball guys. And so when each sport was in season, you did things different. You wanted them to lift and do different things. And to be honest with you, teaching a PE class and then being the head coach of the junior high football program and then trying to work with baseball, football, and basketball guys in a different level, it was a lot. It really was. So kudos to you for being able to go from football, varsity football, all the way down to like girls golf. I mean, and how in depth you can get with all that stuff. And it would just, I would like to come be a fly on the wall one day and just see how you kind of operate all that.
Right.
It's if you've not been in that world, it's a lot.
Right.
It's really a lot.
And Coach, final question I've got is let's say someone's listening to the broadcast right now and they're like, wow, I think I would like to do that. It'd be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Or let's say someone listens to the what do we call it? Not the podcast,
yeah.
I guess. And they listen to the podcast. And so just your background, is that like going to college and study? Is it kinesiology? Or tell me how someone could get to where you are if that's what they choose.
There's a lot of different degrees. Mine is actually exercise science and wellness, which is kind of a broad spectrum. It's more of your general, fitness, that type of stuff. But there's also kinesiology. There's exercise physiology. There's biomechanics. There's all these different
that's where my body comes in.
That's right. There you go. And you kind of get your feet on the ground, getting the science behind it. I was telling one of our girls the other day, she asked, do you know every muscle in the body? Well, I had to at one point. Now I have to dust it off sometimes. But, you learn everything about it, how to train it. And a lot of the science behind it is not how to do it. Everybody squats, deadlifts, and bench press, but at what intensity and how many reps, and periodization is key, and kind of knowing we're in season with football. We're not going to throw 100% of our max around and try to max out or anything, but right now baseball's off season, so we maxed out today with them, and in softball, and so kind of knowing the different times of the year, the periods of the year, and kind of understanding how the body moves and what it needs to do to be productive. That's the key to getting that base, that baseline knowledge and the science behind it. And then for me and a lot of people in strength and conditioning, it's just experience. You want to go on and get a master's a lot of times in the same field, exercise science, something like that. Kinesiology is a big one. And getting your feet on the ground and learning it. I learned a lot of what I know now when I was 22 years old. I was a GA and I was training football and rifle and the tennis team, So the experience and the science behind how the body moves and what is required of it is what we want to get out of it.
Cool, Coach. We appreciate what you do. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
All right, we'll come back with Coach
Take care
Brown.
of that kid.
No, I'll try.
We'll wrap up the show talking about Bob Jones coming up next. We'll take a time out. We're at Local Joe's here in downtown Albertville on Power 107.5.
This week, Foodland Plus in Albertville has 80% lean, fresh ground chuck. Family pack, $3.99 a pound. Preferred Angus beef T-bone steak. Family pack, $8.99 a pound. Prairie Fresh whole boneless pork loin, $2.19 a pound. Western grown fresh cantaloupes, $2.99 each. General Mills large size cereal selected varieties, 2 for $7. Food Club cheese, 608 ounce. Shredded cubes or chunk, 5 for $10. Bush's Best chili beans, 15 to 16 ounce selected varieties, 2 for $3. At Foodland Plus in Albertville.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones, your hometown trusted choice insurance agency. Randy Jones and Associates knows the playing field, and we have been proudly serving communities across North Alabama for 46 years. Having the right protection on the field is important. The RJA team of experienced agents will help you find affordable, customized insurance coverage for your family, business, and future. Stop by a local Randy Jones Associates office for a free, no-obligation quote or complimentary policy review.
Attention football fans, this season don't let slow internet make you miss a single touchdown, tackle, or triumph. With our gigabit fiber internet, you get blazing fast speeds that keep you in the game. Stream every play in crystal clear HD. Blitz through online stats and video chat with fellow fans, all with zero lag. Don't fumble your connection, score big with our unbeatable fiber service. Call FTC and get your gigabit fiber internet just in time for the big game. Stay connected, stay ahead, stay unstoppable. Visit farmerstel.com or call us at 866-638-2144. FTC, we keep you connected.
It's football time in Alabama. The players are hitting the field, the cheerleaders are firing up the crowd, the drum majors striking up the band, and we all stand for the national anthem. This is Congressman Robert Adderholt. While you cheer your favorite team this season, I'll be on President Trump's team shaking things up in Washington. When we stand on conservative principles, it's a win for everyone. I'm Robert Adderholt, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Adderholt for Congress.
Goes downtown Albertville, Coach Bert Browne. So Coach getting ready for finally a home game again. We got 2 straight, but unfortunately Bob Jones coming into town. So how good's Bob Jones?
Awful good. I mean, their record doesn't really indicate how good they are. but they got some. You know, I was talking to Coach Perkins from Austin today, and he was just talking about there might be the most athletic football team they've played. And
that's strong words right
there.
there.
Yeah, it is. And but you know, we're going to have some things go our way. There, you know, for us to win the football game, you know, they're going to have to play probably their worst game of the season. We're going to have to play our best. We're going to have to get some turnovers. You know, some things have got to go our way. You know, you know, my wife's always on about be positive, you know, and I said, I'm being positive, but I'm also living in reality here. Yeah. I know as a head football coach, you have to live in reality. Yeah. And the reality is we've got to go out and play very good, and we've got to limit mistakes, and they've got to make some bad throws and us get a pick, or, you know, we need 3 or 4 turnovers, and we need to score on those, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Coach, you talk about getting some picks and things of that nature. I mean, just when you look top to bottom, and I watched a little bit of game film on Sunday, probably about the same time you guys were doing it, and then watched a fair amount last night. And you know, one of the things that impresses me, I mean, you got the number 1 quarterback, passing quarterback in 7A coming in. His name's Johnny Jackson. I mean, when you watch him, 1,866 yards for this season, averaging about 233 yards a game. Yeah. And when I first looked at that, I thought, you know, that's a great quarterback. Then you begin to break it down a little bit more, and 3 of his 4 wide receivers that are his 4 constant wide receivers, all 3 of those 4 ranked in the top 24 in receivers in all of 7A. Yeah. And then I thought, well, they got to be good at passing. So what about running backs? You know, they got to be bad at something. Yeah. And you turn around and you look, and they got one of the state's leading running backs back there, and he's a senior, and then he's backed up by a sophomore that spells him that's not too bad. Coach, where do you even begin? Because, I mean, everywhere you look, they've got weapons on the field. Yeah. And oh, by the way, they got about a 6'2", 280 average across the front on their offensive line.
Well, they're
water boys slow, though.
Yeah. They throw a ton of screens. You know, I was, of course, I've watched film all week, but I was watching film this afternoon again, and I specifically was watching the Austin Bob Jones game. I watched film Saturday on them, and then I watched film Sunday on them, and you know, I've watched throughout the week and in the evenings, and you know, I go home and watch film, and man, they throw a lot of screens, and they got some guys that can absolutely go. So we're going to see a lot of screens, you know, which we haven't defended the screen too well. But we're going to have to just get after them. You know, it's like I was talking to Derek about it Sunday. I mean, you know, we're going to have to, you know, play. And I know it's crazy to say, but if we got in zone, you know, the best thing that we can do right now is get in man and get after them and put guys moving, you know, and getting them in holes and maybe making something happen, you know, for us.
Well, and Coach, and I'm sure you watched every one of those films that thank you for giving me access to be able to look at what you're looking at. But one thing that I did notice is where Austin was good enough to go man, right, and do some of the things they did. But now Grissom sat back in zone, to your point, and Jackson just picked them apart when they sat back in zone, and they just did not have a good outing until I think later in the game they figured out that that's not working out too well.
Yeah, I mean, for us, what we have right now, it's best to move our guys, to have them moving, as opposed to sitting there at linebacker and letting the big lineman get up on top of them and it's over. You know, so we move guys, play man, get after people. I know that sounds kind of crazy when you don't have the athletes other people have, but we've got to create some turnovers. And our defense, I mean, doing this, we've given up some big plays, but it's helped keep us in the game for a while. You know, the Huntsville game, if we don't throw the pick six, it's 7-7 there. You know, I mean, our defense is playing pretty well. So, you know, we have got to get after them and make something happen. You know, get a turnover, get a sack, a fumble, scoop and score. You know, fake a punt and get some stuff going. You know, that's why I did that the other night. I go, well, we might as well just take a punt again. And, it worked out. And that's why we just kept faking punts.
Well, and kind of hammering that point home, Coach. I mean, this guy that we're going to see Friday night, the quarterback, he's a great quarterback. John's seen him. Obviously, you've seen a ton of him. But if he sits back there and he's not getting pressured, he's going to look like Joe Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still a high school quarterback. If you can get pressure on him, I see what you're saying. Make him make a mistake. Try to get to him. Hey, and if you hit him a couple of times, he may still complete some passes, but he ain't going to like it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Nobody likes it. But, and for us, we don't have a lot of pass rushers.
Yeah.
We don't have guys that we can line up 4 down and go get them. We don't have a lot of those guys running around. And, Christian can get some pressure and do some things. And I think, Laughlin can get in there some. But for the most part across the board, we don't have that. So we've got to bring some guys here and there and make some things happen.
Coach, one of the things that I noticed, and I know we've talked about really how good Bob Jones is, and let's face it, they're a good football team. But one of the things that I did notice, and I went back to look at Grissom, and the reason why I went back and kind of watched Grissom and specifically their offensive plays is because I think if you equate us to anybody in our region, you would equate us to Grissom, right? But one thing that I noticed is that Grissom, they were able to get 157 yards passing on this Bob Jones team, right? Yeah. Now, conversely, they're only able to manage 62 yards running the ball.
Yeah.
And to your point a few moments ago when you said it's tough sledding for us to run the ball.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I like the fact that Parker Gibson, reading those keys and doing the things he needs to do, that it seems as if there was a little weakness, I guess, in this game that you talk about giving us that chance, is that they do give up. I mean, they gave up 157, so let's call it even 160 yards passing to Grissom. Can the Aggies exploit that, maybe?
I hope so. Now, one of the things that Grissom has over us is they got a big offensive line that can pass protect.
Yep.
And, we've got to get it out of our hands. That kid could sit back a little bit and do some things. That ball's got to come out. We don't have a lot of time to stand back there because they got their number 90. Good gracious, that joker can play now. He's an animal. And so, the ball's got to come out of our hand quick, and that's what Ken tries to do every week. How can we get this ball out? We do a lot of slide protection to make it easy, so we're not as much one-on-one. We're coming from a side of a guy or whatever, and it's got to come out of our hands.
Coach, talking about one last thing over on my side that I'm looking at is the Albertville offensive line.
Yeah.
Granted, it seems like we had some things going in the right direction. Then you have some injuries, and you've talked about it. That's got to be 5 individuals acting in one. It's like what did you call it? A synchronized swimming team. Yeah. And so anyway, with this week, like you said, you got some big ones down there on the defensive front. You've got the state, or excuse me, in Class 7A, the number 3 leading tackler in their middle linebacker, Romario Washington, and he's a good one. So when you talk about slide protections or things of that nature, what when you look over at Coach Nelson and Coach Slivka that are in charge of the offensive line, how do you coach those coaches to get ready to coach those guys, saying, hey, these are going to be the 4 you really need to pay attention to?
Well, I talk to them all the time about, their demeanor. An old line coach's demeanor is getting on people. Hey, let's go. Big guys need some
motivation.
That's right. And I was always that quarterback that motivated the big guys. I would get on them in the huddle and say, let's go. We got to do our job here. But definitely those guys are 2 very good young coaches that are getting better every day, just like our kids. And I was telling Bryant, stay on Brian. Stay on Brian. You got to stay on Brian. Stay on him, and be right there. Let's go. And just like I said last week, I got on Kellen during practice one day last week pretty hard, and he just drove somebody in the next week. And I said, you can do that every time, Kellen. But I think kids sometimes don't really realize at what they can do. And I got Kellen mad at me, and he buried somebody, which I'll take that all day. Stay mad at me, and so he's got a lot of ability, but young kids don't understand really what they got. They that's why you got to coach them up, and sometimes you got to get on them hard to motivate them.
Well, and you're exactly right, especially a young guy like him and young guys like him that are coming into their own and they're coming into their body a little bit, and they don't really know how strong they are yet.
That's right.
And they need that extra kick in the britches sometimes. But I tell you what, Coach Slivka and Coach Nelson, Bryant and Kaler are two fantastic young men.
Yeah.
And I coach them and really excited to see what they're doing. And some of the other guys that you got on your staff. You got a great staff.
Yeah.
A lot of young guys.
Yeah.
That you're having to coach up a little bit too.
Yeah.
But you got some really solid individuals on your staff.
Well, yeah, and it's like, I think sometimes kids, and I think parents sometimes too, they don't understand. You're not getting on kids to be mean.
Right.
You're getting on kids to get the best out of that kid. And I know sometimes what those kids don't know. Like, I'm talking about Kellen. Kellen knows I love him.
Yeah.
But, sometimes it's called tough love. And sometimes you've got to stay on those guys every day. I'm on them every day because I know what they can do if they just got to push themselves. Mm-hmm. And then they're young. They got to have somebody push them. And that's what coaches do. That's what coaching's all about. Is it's just like teaching. You're teaching a math problem, or you're teaching English. You're teaching adverbs and nouns, and you're a teacher. A coach is a teacher, and teachers are coaches. And so we're just going to stay on them and keep coaching them and get them in the right direction.
Well, Coach, that's going to wrap it up. I think every player's been fed and not a rib left in the house. I think it's been a good night at Local Joe's.
They destroyed the kitchen in there.
I guarantee you they lost money tonight. This bunch of way they was eating. They was putting it away.
Yeah.
Coach,
well, I'd like to say thank you to Local Joe's, and because they cut us a pretty good deal to come in here and feed our kids, and they sponsoring this radio show is a great thing, and I really do appreciate it, and hopefully we can get us a win, if not this year, next year start off strong and get this town excited about football, because I think it's there now. It's going to take us. We got some young guys. I mean, but I think the future is bright here. We've got to have consistency here, and we've got to get this thing rolling.
Well, I tell you what, we didn't do you any favors. The old cupboard was bare when you came in, Coach. So just hang in there. We appreciate you in the work you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hey, and speaking of Local Joe's, I didn't know this until the other day, just to kind of give them props. I think it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Local Joe's is starting to serve breakfast, and it's not bad, Coach.
I bet that's a good one.
It is a good one. So if you just want to be late to first period, just ease on in here and have breakfast.
There's my man Miller.
Yeah. There's the big guy.
Miller Deason. He's going to be a monster.
Yeah, he sure is.
Yeah, he's going to be a big old left tackle.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, appreciate you, and thank you for what you do. We'll see you Friday night.
Thank you, guys.
All right, well, join us again coming up next Tuesday here at Local Joe's. And again, Friday we'll be on the air at 6:30 pregame, kickoff at 7, home against Bob Jones. So for John Gladden, Keith Ball, and Barry Galloway, and have a good night, everybody.
WAVU AM 630.
W298VG FM 107.5 Albertville.
You've found the power. Power 107.5 FM.